Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. May God richly bless your day and your week as you join us for this journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
So we all know the classic story of the underdog,
Mhm.
right? The one who wins the impossible battle against all odds.
Right. The enemy is completely routed. The music swells. The credits roll. It's a great story.
Exactly. But what happens the morning after?
Oh, that's the real question.
Yeah, today we're looking at how a revered hero actually manages to snatch, well, spiritual and moral defeat right out of the jaws of a stunning military victory. We are exploring a really specific, very tragic phenomenon found in the aftermath of one of history's greatest underdog stories.
Because the transition from, oppressed underdog to the person holding all the power, it's rarely as clean as we want it to be.
Definitely not.
So our mission today is to unpack the messy, complicated reality of Judges chapter 8. And we'll be relying on the scholarly insights from the Holman and NAA study Bibles to kind of guide us through this. Because this isn't the highlight reel of divine deliverance that we usually associate with this era. The text picks up immediately after the main battle, but the tone, it shifts dramatically.
Yeah, and since most of you listening already know the basics of Gideon's story, the 300 men, the miraculous nighttime raid, the absolute routing of the massive Midianite army back in chapter 7, we aren't going to rehash all the battlefield tactics today.
Right, we're zooming in on the tension of chapter 8.
Exactly. The enemy is fleeing, the dust is settling, and the very first thing Gideon faces isn't like a victory parade. It's a furious confrontation with his own people, specifically the tribe of Ephraim.
Yeah, and you have to understand, in the ancient Near East, honor and societal standing were everything.
Oh, for sure.
So sitting out a major military conflict wasn't a relief for a tribe. It wasn't like, oh, good, we get to stay home. It was a profound insult.
Right.
The men of Ephraim, they confront Gideon aggressively because they weren't called to fight the Midianites from the very beginning. They feel completely sidelined.
They missed out.
Exactly. They missed out on the initial glory, the initial spoils of war, and, all the cultural clout that comes with a massive national victory.
So Gideon is staring down this internal rebellion while he is technically still fighting an external war.
Yeah, which is incredibly dangerous.
But he handles this Ephraimite anger with masterful diplomacy. He uses this really brilliant agrarian metaphor.
Right, the gleanings.
Yeah, he essentially asks them, aren't the gleanings of Ephraim's grapes better than the entire vintage of Abiezer?
And for anyone not steeped in ancient agriculture, a gleaning is just the leftover scraps of a harvest, right? Like the grapes you missed on the first pass.
Exactly. He is deliberately downplaying his own massive victory. He's telling the Ephraimites that their minor leftover contribution, which was capturing the two Midianite princes, Oreb and Zeb, that it's far superior to the entire heavy lifting done by Gideon's own clan.
Which is Abiezer.
Right. And it's a calculated stroke of political genius, honestly.
Yeah.
He gives them the social honor they are demanding, and it instantly diffuses a potential civil war. It's so smart. But here's the crazy part. The restraint he shows in that moment, it evaporates almost immediately.
It really does.
Gideon and his exhausted men, they cross the Jordan River, and they're pursuing the two remaining Midianite kings, Zebah and Zalmunna. They arrive at the Israelite city of Sukkoth, and they are starving.
Just completely tapped out.
Right. So Gideon asks the leaders for bread for his troops, and the leaders of Sukkoth flat out refuse. They mock him, basically asking if he already has the hands of the kings in his grasp to prove he's actually won.
Because Sukkoth is playing this really dangerous game of political hedging.
Oh, totally.
They don't believe Gideon can finish the job. And they are terrified, understandably terrified of brutal Midianite retaliation if they get caught aiding him.
Yeah, they don't want to back the losing horse.
Exactly. So when Gideon gets this rejection, he vows to come back and physically tear their flesh with the thorns and briars of the desert. And then he gets the exact same rejection at the next town, Penuel, and he promises to tear down their defensive tower.
Okay, I have to bring up a thought I had while reading this, just to push back on the text for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If you are putting yourself in Gideon's shoes, isn't he justified? Sukkoth and Penuel are essentially committing treason during wartime.
Well, yeah, from a certain angle.
Right. They are Israelites refusing to feed an Israelite army that is actively trying to secure their own borders. Isn't Gideon's reaction just standard, necessary military discipline? It's like watching a CEO expertly de-escalate a highly tense shareholder meeting with perfect grace, but then he walks out to the parking lot and vows to ruthlessly destroy the valet for bringing his car around late. Why the drastic shift from peacemaker to tyrant?
That's a great analogy, actually. And from a purely secular military standpoint, punishing treason is standard. But as study notes in both the Holman and NAA Bibles, they highlight a crucial missing element in this chapter that changes everything:
What's that?
the voice of God.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Throughout the initial battle in chapter 7, God was actively micromanaging the strategy, like take the men down to the water, shrink the army to 300. God was directing this holy war step by step. But here, crossing the Jordan, God's direction is entirely absent from the text.
Wait, so God never actually told him to chase these two specific kings across the river?
He didn't. The sources point out that Gideon is no longer operating as a judge delivering Israel under divine command. He has shifted into operating on ego.
Oh,
The diplomacy with Ephraim, that was the act of a leader trying to preserve national unity. The threats against Succoth and Penuel, those are the acts of a wounded dictator.
that makes so much sense.
Think of a political revolution when the liberator successfully overthrows the oppressive regime. But the moment his own citizens question his absolute authority, he uses the exact same violent tactics against them. He stops viewing them as citizens to protect and starts viewing them as subjects who have defied his personal will.
Man, that is a chilling pivot. The skill set required to overthrow an enemy, absolute ruthlessness and unyielding conviction, it's toxic when turned inward on your own people.
Absolutely toxic.
So, driven by this bruised ego, Gideon's campaign morphs from a war of liberation into an ancient revenge thriller. He marches his starving men completely off the map.
Yeah, he takes this hidden caravan route used by desert nomads to reach Karkor. And militarily, this is a brilliant tactical move. The remaining Midianite army, which is about 15,000 men who had survived the initial slaughter of 120,000, they feel totally secure out there.
They think they're safe.
Right. But Gideon catches them completely off guard, routs the army, and captures Zebah and Zalmunna alive.
And on the march back, the revenge thriller just ramps up because he doesn't let the slight from Sukkoth go. He captures a young man from the city who writes down the names of 77 officials and elders for him.
Which is a fascinating historical detail from the study notes, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the fact that a random youth could physically write down a comprehensive list of 77 municipal names, it suggests that literacy in ancient Israel was much more widespread than just a small class of elite scribes.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Gideon uses this literacy to weaponize his vengeance.
Right. He makes good on those horrific threats. He takes the elders of Sukkoth and physically thrashes them with desert thorns and briars. I mean, he tortures his own people.
He does.
And at Penuel, he tears down their tower and slaughters the men of the city. He is acting exactly like a pagan warlord here. And you have to ask, why go to these unhinged extremes? Well, the answer drops in this chilling interrogation scene.
Yeah, this part is wild.
He stands before the two captive kings and asks a highly specific question. He says, "What kind of men were they that you killed at Tabor?"
And the kings answered that the victims at Tabor looked just like Gideon. They said they resembled the sons of a king.
Right, and then Gideon says, "Those were my brothers, the sons of my mother." Wait, this completely reframes the entire pursuit. Up until its exact sentence, you assume Gideon is just trying to secure the eastern borders, to prevent future Midianite raids. But it was never about national security. It was a personal blood feud.
Exactly. The study Bibles emphasize this as the big aha moment of the text. The holy war ended miles back. The exhaustion, the crossing of the Jordan, the brutal torture of Sukkoth, all of it was driven by personal vengeance, not obedience to God. Gideon even states plainly, "As surely as the Lord lives, if you had spared their lives, I would not kill you."
He is literally admitting that if they hadn't touched his family, the Midianite kings could have just walked away.
Yeah.
He abandoned the national threat for a personal vendetta.
He did. And his execution of the kings reflects this deeply personal pettiness, too. He doesn't just execute them. He tries to humiliate them according to the honor-shame dynamics of their culture.
Oh, with his son, right.
Right. He orders his firstborn son, Jephthah, who is just a youth, to draw his sword and kill these seasoned warriors.
Because being executed by a child would be the ultimate disgrace for a king in that era. It's straight-up psychological warfare.
Exactly. But the boy is terrified, and he freezes. So the kings look up at Gideon and issue this challenge to his masculinity. They say, "Rise up yourself and strike us down. For as the man is, so is his strength." Yeah. So Gideon kills them himself, and then he strips the crescent ornaments from the necks of their camels. And those spoils of war, they might seem insignificant now, but they are the seed of a massive generational disaster.
Okay, so with his enemies dead and his brother's blood avenged, Gideon returns home a conquering hero. And the Israelites are so enamored with this total victory that they approach him with a massive proposition.
The huge one.
They ask him to rule over them, him, his son, and his grandson. They are basically offering to establish a hereditary dynasty right on the spot.
And Gideon's response at first glance, it sounds like the pinnacle of Orthodox theology. He declares, "I will not rule over you, nor will my son rule over you. The Lord will rule over you."
Sounds great, right?
It is the perfect answer for a faithful judge who recognizes that Israel is supposed to be a theocracy, ruled only by God.
Yeah, he says all the right words, but watch his hands, not his mouth. His actions scream the exact opposite. He immediately requests a piece of the plunder. He asks for every man's gold earring because the defeated forces were Ishmaelites, and it was their custom to wear gold.
And the people, they're happy to do it. They throw down a garment and just pile up the earrings. The text records the weight at 1,700 shekels of gold.
Which is how much in modern terms?
That's roughly 21 kilograms, or nearly 50 pounds of gold.
Good grief.
Yeah. And he also takes the pendants, the crescent ornaments, and the purple royal garments from the dead kings.
And purple dye in the ancient world was incredibly expensive to produce. It was the universal symbol of royalty. So he is hoarding state wealth and dressing in the garments of kings. Why does he put on this charade of refusing the crown while aggressively building a throne?
It is the danger of wanting the privileges, the wealth and deference of absolute power, without the formal accountability that comes with the title. He wants to be king in everything but name. But the wealth itself isn't actually the most destructive part. No, it's what he manufactures with that gold. He creates an ephod.
Okay, for those listening who aren't familiar with ancient Israelite religious mechanics, we really need to explain what an ephod actually is, because just making a gold vest doesn't immediately sound like a catastrophic national mistake.
Right. An ephod was a highly specific, sacred vestment, and it was meant to be worn exclusively by the high priest. At this time, the tabernacle, which is the legitimate center of worship, was located in Shiloh.
Okay.
And the high priest's ephod held a breastpiece containing the Urim and Thummim.
Which were used for what exactly?
Divination, essentially.
Yeah.
They were used to cast lots to receive direct yes or no answers from God regarding big national decisions.
So whoever controls the ephod controls the official channel of communication with God.
Precisely the point. By taking 50 pounds of gold, crafting a rival ephod, and setting it up in his own hometown of Ophrah, Gideon is usurping religious authority. He is intentionally bypassing the established priesthood in Shiloh.
That is so manipulative.
Think about the political leverage. He wants the people coming to his city, to his estate, to seek divine guidance. He is monopolizing access to God to centralize his own power.
It's a terrifying psychological snare. I mean, you build a monument to your own success, convincing yourself it's to honor the victory, but really it becomes a tool for control. And the result is totally devastating for the nation.
Yeah, the biblical text uses very visceral language here, stating that all of Israel prostituted themselves by worshiping this object. What may have started in Gideon's mind as just a memorial quickly devolved into full-blown idolatry.
Wow.
The people began treating the golden vest itself as a deity. Gideon's attempt to consolidate spiritual power drags the entire nation back into the exact same spiritual darkness God had literally just rescued them from.
So he won the war, but he poisoned the peace.
That's a good way to put it.
The land is technically secure for 40 years, but internally the rot just takes over. Gideon, who is now frequently referred to by the name Jerubbaal, spends the rest of his life living indistinguishably from a Canaanite monarch.
Yeah, ancient kings projected their power through massive households and political marriages. And Gideon leans entirely into this lifestyle. He takes many wives, fathers 70 sons, and takes a Canaanite concubine in the city of Shechem.
And the detail about the concubine in Shechem delivers the ultimate irony of this entire narrative. The study Bibles point out the specific name he gives to the son born from this union. He names the boy Abimelech.
Yeah.
Which literally translates from Hebrew to, "My father is king."
Let the weight of that name sink in for a second.
Right. It shatters the entire facade.
Yeah.
He stood in front of the nation years earlier and piously declared, "I will not rule over you, the Lord will rule." And then he turns around and names his son, "My father is king."
Yeah.
He wasn't fooling anyone. The hypocrisy is staggering.
It reveals the true condition of his heart. He refused the crown in public, but demanded everyone acknowledge he wore it in private. And that specific son, Abimelech, He really embodies all of Gideon's hidden royal arrogance.
Oh, absolutely.
Later in the book of Judges, Abimelech will actually murder his 70 half-brothers on a single stone in a brutal, blood-soaked grab to become an actual king. So Gideon's unacknowledged ambition literally slaughters his own legacy.
Just incredibly tragic. So what happens to Israel the moment Gideon finally dies at a good old age? Does the infrastructure of peace hold up at all?
Not even a little bit. The spiritual dam breaks instantly. The moment he is gone, Israel aggressively relapses. They don't just drift away from God, they formalize their idolatry.
They go right back to the bells.
Exactly. They return to worshiping the local Canaanite gods,
Yeah.
and they give their chief deity a very specific, deeply ironic title. They made Baal-berith their god.
And Baal-berith translates to Lord of the Covenant.
Yeah, the tragedy of that title really cannot be overstated. God had just miraculously delivered them from the Midianites, specifically because of the covenant he had established with them at Sinai.
Right.
God was their true Lord of the covenant. But they completely erase him from their memory. They want the security and the transactional benefits of a covenant, but they want it on their own terms, with a pagan deity they feel they can manipulate.
They manufactured a god in Shechem to replace the God of the universe. And the text notes, they didn't just forget God, they completely abandoned Gideon's family too.
Yeah, they showed absolutely zero loyalty or kindness to the house of Jerubbaal, despite everything Gideon had actually accomplished for Israel. The nation forgot the deliverer, and they forgot the instrument of their deliverance.
It forces us to look in the mirror, honestly.
Yeah.
As you go about your week, I want you to think about those 1,700 shekels of gold. Think about the purple garments.
Yeah, the plunder.
Right. The very trophies of our greatest, most hard-fought victories, the things we legitimately collect to remind us of our success, can so easily be melted down into the idols that destroy our legacy. How often do we let the rewards of a victory distract us from the original purpose of the mission?
That is such a profound question.
When we win the battle, do we have the character to survive the peace?
A vital question for anyone who achieves what they set out to do. Because the hardest test of leadership isn't the war, it's what you build with the plunder.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Judges 8. May God bless all of you listeners, keep you grounded in your successes, and give you profound wisdom for the week ahead. Until next time.